Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and in this follow along, what we're going to do is learn about using application insights. So application insights allows us to get visible data about how our application is running, like distributed tracing. And so we're going to have to deploy some kind of workload and then apply application insights to it. So what we'll do is go ahead and go to App Services and deploy a new service. So let's just type in the top here, App Services, and we'll go here. We'll go ahead and create ourselves a new app service. And I'm going to make a new resource group here so it's easy for us to clean up later. So my app insights. And then from there, we'll need a web name. So we'll say my app insights 8888. If you cannot get this name, just change the values to something that works for you because these are fully qualified domains. It's like registering domain names. So make sure it works for you. We're going to publish code here today. For the stack, we're going to choose no just to make our lives super easy. I'm choosing 16 LTS. If there's a newer version, should work fine. No does not change that much in terms of versions, but it depends how far in the future you are. In terms of region, Canada, US, or sorry, Central US is fine. It always chooses by random. I'm in Canada, but I'm going to stay in Central US because I know that the things I'm going to be using will be available there. In terms of the SKU and size, which greatly affects the cost, we'll click into here because we really do not want to pay much at all. So we'll give it a moment to load. It'll take a few seconds. Well, it usually doesn't, but for right now, it certainly does. So we'll give it a moment to load. I'm going to make my way over to dev test, and we're going to choose the cheapest option here, which is going to be F1. So you can see there's not a whole lot. It's just memory storage. We don't get custom domain. We don't get manual scaling. We don't need any of that stuff. We need it nice and simple. So we'll go ahead and choose free F1. That sounds good to me. I like the word free. We'll go to our next step, which is deployment. In fact, I don't think anything has to be changed under deployment, but we'll click it here. Not sure why Azure's a bit slower today, but that's just how it's going. So we'll give it a moment to think, and we will wait. Wow, it is really, really slow here right now. Okay, so for deployment, you could hook up GitHub Actions and things like that. I don't think we need to do any of that, so I'm going to make my way over to networking. And we do want to inject, oh, sorry, not networking, monitoring, because we don't need networking monitoring, but we want to enable application insights. This is going to set up some stuff for us. So it's going to set us an application insights, namespace, a thing. It'll set up something for us, so we don't have to worry about that. So we'll go ahead and hit review, create, and hit review. And so now we just need to wait for that to deploy. So I'll see you back here when that is done, okay? After a very short wait, maybe like a minute or two, that has been completed. So we'll go ahead and go to that resource. And I just want to show you over here in the configuration tab, the environment variables that are going to get passed to our application. So if you go here, these are the environment variables that get passed along. And notice we have one called application insights connection string, instrumentation key. And the reason this is important is because we don't have to, in our environment, set it. So like, since we're using app services and we enabled application insights, it's already going to set those values. And the great thing about the SDK is it's going to pick up those values so we don't have to explicitly set them. At least I don't think so. If we do set them, we'll use the environment variables. I haven't decided as of yet. For application insights, it set us up I don't know what they call them, workspace, namespace. I don't really care what the name is called. But the idea is that we have an environment set up in order to gather information. So what we're going to do is just go back here. And notice down below it says node is in progress, agent is enabled. So just indicate that that is working as expected. That's a good message to see. Not that we'd ever see any other message there. And so now that we know that everything is deployed, or at least our environment is ready, let's go ahead and create a new application. So what I'm going to do is make my way over to GitHub here, and we are going to create ourselves a new repository. Now, I don't know if I have an old one sticking around here, so hopefully I don't. Well, we'll see here. I'm going to say my app insights would be something I would name it. And so I already have one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new tab here. Okay, I'm just going to go to anyone here. This is my marketing website. I'm going to go my app insights. I'm just going to rename the old one so it's out of the way. So you can follow along exactly the same way as me here. I'm just going to go settings. We will go down here and we'll just say old. All right, and we'll rename that. And I'll close that out. And so what we'll do is go back here, and this is fine now. I know that it says it's not, but I know it is. We're going to add a README file. We're going to go down to git ignore and add node. I might have done this after the fact, so I might have added the steps out of order here, but that should improve that there. I'm just going to do -old. I'm going to take that out there. There we go. And we'll go ahead and create this repository. So I want you to get Gitpod installed. So Gitpod is a really great service for having a cloud developer environment. It has a generous free tier, so there's no reason not to sign up. And really, this is the future of cloud development. So make sure to go get a Gitpod account. But you really don't have to, because when you launch this environment, it either launches it temporarily, or you can connect your account and then persist that data. But anyway, if you install the Gitpod Chrome extension, you'll get this button, but you don't need to install the Chrome extension. All you have to do is you just need to put this in front of your address. So this is the current address we're at. Like, this is the current repository. Whoops. This is the current repository link. And all this button is doing, copy link address, is just putting this part in front here. Okay. So this is going to open up a Gitpod environment. This launches extremely fast, and we're going to create a new Node.js application and deploy it to app services. So we'll give it a moment here. Doesn't take too long. Here we go. And what we'll do is we're going to use the npx express generator to generate a new express application, express.js generator. So we'll type that in there. We'll say yes. And it's going to create us a skeleton app. Just say yes. Just say yes all the way down. We'll get a bunch of stuff in here. And then we'll do our npm install. You can do npm install or npmi if you want to make it nice and short. We'll give it a moment there. Okay, and then we'll make sure this works. We'll type in npm start. This is going to prompt us to open our browser. So we'll say open browser. So Express.js, that application's working up at this link up here. So this is our application, but it's not instrumented to send any data. So that's what we need to do. So next thing we're going to do is just kill this, Control-C. Control-C on my keyboard. And we'll type in npm install. I'm typing application insights --save. And what that's going to do is install that dependency for application insights. So if I go over to my package.json here, you can see that it is a dependency that is installed. So now we need to configure that. So what we'll do is go over to our app.js file. And so we got to insert this somewhere here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way to the top. That's probably a good place to put it. And we'll say let. I like how it says all var. Var is really old. App insights equals require, double quotations or single, it doesn't matter. It's not going to hurt either way. Application insights, and that will define our variable here. The next thing is we need to set it up. So we'll say app insights dot setup, and then we need our connection string. So that's where we're going to put this thing here, our connection string. And then we need a bunch of other things. So I'm not going to type these all out because there's a lot of them. So we'll just say application insights instrumentation, Node.js. And I'm sure the documentation is going to help us out there. So go here. I'm just scrolling for the usual configuration. Here it is. That's all I've been typing here this entire time. That's probably where I got it originally. So we'll go ahead and we'll just paste that on in there. Allow. We'll take out the first line. That way there's no spelling mistakes. And so we have auto dependency correlation, auto collect requests, a bunch of interesting stuff here. It's going to do distributed tracing. We don't need the semicolon. We'll just take it off there for fun, and I'll save that. And so now the next thing we need is the connection string in order to make sure this application works, which is going to go here. So we'll make our way back over to this tab, and the connection string is actually in the configuration that we were earlier here in this blade. So we'll give it a moment to load. There we go. And so we want the connection string. So we'll click that. I think before that you could use the instrumentation key, but now connection string is what is preferred. I want to copy the value. Okay, I just clicked into it to make it a bit easier for me. And what I'm going to do, this is really dirty, but I'm going to just paste it in here. And we're going to just do it in a few different steps just to make sure that this is working correctly before we switch this over to environment variables. And one other thing that we need to do if we want to actually get any data is we'll have to turn send live metrics to true. Now, if you are doing instrumentation, you might not want live metrics. I don't know if it costs more, but for our development purposes, it's not a big deal to turn this to true. So that is now enabled, and you know, our .git ignore should have a bunch of stuff in it, like node modules, so we're not committing that stuff. And I'm going to commit this. Now, it does have the connection string in here. I'm not too worried about it because we are going to delete it out later on. So we'll just say save my changes. But I am pointing out to you that we are committing this string here, which is bad practice, right? Because if somebody got that, then they could mess with this. But again, we're going to tear all this stuff down, so it's not that big of a deal. And so we should be okay. So now that this is installed, what we're going to do is do an npm start. That's going to start up our application. And then we're going to go open in the browser again. So here's our application. Now, if we go back to application insights, or not application insights, but into our app service, our actual application, on the left-hand side, there's going to be application insights. And from here, what we can do is click the view application insights to go to the workspace, the namespace, whatever they want to call it. And this is the way we're going to be able to see some information. So live metrics on the left-hand side will show us data in real time. So now it says it's connected to your app. So we'll go back here, refresh, so the app connects, and we should get some data. There we go. So these are the requests we're making right here. So I hit enter, 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 enter. We go back here. Here's those requests coming in. It's giving a 304 for the CSS. So yeah, mostly, yeah, there's our stuff. So we know that it's working because we can see information there. And so that's pretty darn straightforward. Now let's go back to our application, set this up properly, because we really shouldn't be setting our string like this. This is pretty dirty. So what I'm going to do is just delete this out here. And I'm just going to type in process.env, and then we're going to say, we'll match the name of what it's supposed to be called in our application. So I'll click back to make it back to our actual application. We'll go to configuration. And from here, I'm going to just go ahead and grab that string name. I just clicked into it. I just don't want to type it wrong. And we'll go ahead and paste that in there. And so this is what we are going to set. I just did Control-C to kill there, but this is what we're going to set as our environment variable. So I'm doing GP. GP stands for get pod. It's a way of setting environment variables. And we'll do double quotations. Always do double quotations, especially with connection strings when setting environment variables. So part of the string does not get cut off, because it will cut off at the first /, and then you'll just end up with like that. And that's not enough, right? So I've copied that. I'm going to go back here, paste it in. We'll hit enter. And so that's setting the key. Now, if I do env, so show, like this prints all the environment variables. So env pipe is just a vertical line, grep, and I type in connection, any part of the string. Notice that it's not set yet. So it's just because we said GP env does not mean it's set. What you have to do is restart the environment, but we can temporarily set it, export. This is how you'd set it in Bash. You type export, and you'd give it the name here like this, and you do equals double quotations. And this will make the environment work, but the only problem is that if we restart this workspace, we'll lose that on the next time we restart it. So this will definitely work, but let's just do it. Let's just restart the environment anyway. So we have process env up here, but we have to import that as well. So I'm going to say let process equals require process. Process is just a way of getting access to the process. Process being the application that's running to access the environment variables that are set, which are getting passed along to the application by app services. So that is good there. And so I think we are in good shape. The only other thing is I want to generate a git pod file. So I'm going to just do GP for git pod, and we'll just set some things up. This is just going to save us some time when we relaunch our environment. So I'm just doing pipes here. On the end here, that allows us to do multi-line, even though we're only doing a single line. We could probably omit the pipe if we wanted to, but I'm just putting it in anyway. And so we'll just indent there. Coloring usually tells us something's wrong. And this starts up on port 3000. I want it in the browser. I don't want to do preview. That means opens in a little window here. That's kind of gross. And so this looks good. I think I accidentally removed a line here because it's supposed to say tasks up here. And so now we have our git pod YAML file. So we'll go ahead and add all these files here. So instrument. I think that's everything we need to do there. So we'll just go ahead and commit that. We'll sync our changes. And I'll do a git push just to double check. Double check that this stuff was synced and committed. So if you go back to our actual GitHub, if you go context, it just brings us back to the GitHub repository. that Gitpod YAML file set so we know that our changes have been committed. Highlighting looks fine. And this is green. This kind of looks blue. So hopefully that works. But anyway, what we're going to do is go ahead and open this again. Sorry. We'll close this tab and we'll reopen up in Gitpod. And so this will launch a new workspace. If you still have the old tab open, it might ask you to physically press the button called new workspace, but generally it opens a new workspace. So it's setting up a new container completely for us. So give it a moment. It doesn't take too long. And what we'll do here is wait for the terminal to open. Okay, notice it ran the server, it did npm install, did everything for us. I'm just going to open a new terminal here on the right-hand side in Bash. Whoops. Oh, I did not mean to split it, but that's okay. I don't know how to unsplit it, so just drag it around. That doesn't matter. Yours will look a little bit different than mine. And so all I want to do is do env grep con. So I want to see that connection was set. We'll do 2Ns. So there it is, application insights connection string. So I'll just go ahead and close this one. I'm getting a bit confused here with that open. And our app should still work. If we go on the left-hand side here to Remote Explorer, it didn't give us the prompt here. Notice that this little red thing says, all right, you're blocking this pop-up. Continue blocking? No, always allow us to pop up on this. And I'll just click the a little world button to see that it's running. So it's still working. We're going to go double check to make our instrumentations working with our new connection string that's being passed through as an environment variable. So on the left-hand side, go back to Application Insights. And we'll give it a moment here to load. We'll go back to viewing the data. On the left-hand side, we're going to go to Live Metrics. It says it needs to reconnect. We'll hit refresh here. If it connects, then it must be working. So refresh, 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 go back. The data is coming in. So therefore, it is working. So we are in good shape here. So our application is configured correctly, but it's not actually deployed because we're passing we're passing our own environment variables in. So let's actually get it deployed to app services. So what we'll do is click back to get back to our app services, which is here. Nope. Oh yeah, it says app service. That's good. And on the left-hand side, we want to deploy it. So we'll go to the deployment center. And what we'll do is we'll choose the code and we'll go to GitHub. And from here, we need to authenticate. So OmenKing's my personal account. That's just the way I get to it. And so I need to select an organization. It's Exam Pro. I need to select a repository. This is going to be my app insights. That's the new one. We'll choose the main branch. It knows what the runtime is. And we'll go ahead and save that. So as soon as we do that, it should automatically start deploying. It's using GitHub Actions as the build provider. So if we go back to the repository here, we go to Actions, we can see we have one queued up. And so this should run on its own. We don't need to do anything. So all we're doing is waiting for this to deploy. And once it's done, then our application should be deployed to our URL. And then we'll check to see if it works. And if it works, then we are in good shape and we're done the basics of application insights. So I'll be back here in a little bit, okay? All right, so it's done. I was waiting here for quite a while, but I think it was done in a few minutes. You just have to hit the refresh here. So, you know, don't be afraid to go up here and hit enter and see if it's deployed. But now that it says it's deployed, I mean, this URL is on Gitpod, so that's no good for us. What we'll do is go back to our application all the way top to the overview tab, or blade, I should say. We'll go to browse and see if it's deployed. So we're hoping we see Express.js. The first load might be a bit slow, so we'll give it a moment to think. It sure is thinking hard. And we'll just close it again and reopen it. We are using the free tier, so I'm not sure if it's like spinning up the instance. That's probably what it's doing. It's probably spinning up whatever the underlying environment is to get it running. So it is running here. Now the next question is it tracking? So we'll go over to Application Insights, and we'll go back to viewing our insight data, and we will go all the way down to Live Metrics. It says it's not connected. We'll hit refresh. Give it a moment here, see if it finds any data. We'll hit enter. There we go. So we're having a couple of requests in there. So We have application insights working and it's deployed. So we're in pretty good shape here. We're going to keep this environment around because we need it for a few follow-alongs here. But if you want, you can tear this down, but you'd have to do all this setup again. But you can see it doesn't take too darn long. But there you go.